Mundy on Monday, where I am long on thoughts but short on time. Halloween is upon us, and what a wonderful time of year, right? The weather becomes cool and crisp, we need to wrap up with a blanket for protection and comfort, and watch some scary stuff to make us cuddle up. So the film, Halloween. First off, Jamie Lee Curtis' Twitter post kind of sums up much of the weight and meat inside this film's success. To quote in part, okay, I'm going for one boast post. Biggest horror movie opening with a female lead. Biggest movie opening with a female lead over 55. Second biggest October movie opening ever. I mean, come on. That kind of sums it all up. Maybe the inevitable sequel will break all those records with a female director at the helm and a lead over 60. So, with that in mind, here is my experience with Halloween 2018, not 1978. Don't get me started on titles. Okay, spoilers you may ask, only the slightest knife edge of them, I promise. So come on, I had a blast. This was an awesomely fun ride. There were callbacks in gore galore. Almost every kill was a reference to another or even some full-on sequences. There were character and power reversal moments that had the entire audience, obviously familiar with the originals, in triumphal exhalations. Michael Myers' look was appropriately killer. The towering figure was back in full effect. The old mechanic one piece and the mask. Now, from the trailers, I felt the mask might be too perfect, but once it was introduced into the film, it just felt right. And Laurie Strode's introduction was uber effective. The visualization of her trauma through the gated and, shall we say, personalized house and grounds shorthanded me into her state of mind without any necessary prologue, even though we got it. She has been more than waiting for this moment. 40 years in unwavering, exhaustive attention to detail and preparation, and thusly, we have 2 more generations to learn about here, her daughter and granddaughter. So yeah, I was pumped for the ending from the moment we meet Laurie in the beginning. About the script. Yes, the visualization of the trauma was awesome. So picking up on that, we meet these gently annoying podcasters. How are they going to pay off? That's going to be fun to figure out. And there was a weirdly obsessed doctor, and the sheriff is back, and it's Halloween, and there was a bus crash, and the daughter's empathetic strain with her mom, as well as her own daughter's curiosity with her grandmother, and her own realistic dealings with her boyfriend and his not so over-the-top goofy buddy. So many chess pieces set in place, with very imaginative honorings of the original, all showing how carefully the team behind this film wanted to dovetail the success of the original's decisions and give fan service without patronizing. And like any good slow burn, the deaths along the way I just knew would pay off in the end. With that detail in mind, I was ready for Michael Myers to slowly inch from the proverbial 1978 house across the street up the hill down to where Laurie, now 40 years later, was waiting. Michael inevitably plodding down toward Laurie, accumulating our loathing along the way such that we are desperate for relief when these 2 giants face off. But nope. Instead, all these episodic moments kept pulling out the oxygen from the burn. I kept getting to exhale too much away from the main event. And then by the end, once the showdown was in progress, I was fully aware that very little of what went before in this story was going to be brought back and thrown onto the emotional pyre. But before I forget, I want to look like I do underneath the pop cultural reverberations real quick. 40 years later, and even her own daughter dismisses, resents, and doesn't understand her mother's trauma with a real boogeyman. Is Michael human? An alien, a demon, we like to ask. That question is secondary to the truth. He is real, and full-on confession, we are fascinated with him at the expense of Laurie, even as we see the deep-seated trauma passed down generation after generation. Granted, it may not look the same, as Laurie's daughter's life is visually different from her mother's, but it is just as real. So to combat this, as told very literally in the film, it shows where we must come together, face not just our own traumas, but each other's in community in order to have success and healing. When we stop demonizing our own experiences and the experiences of others, then we can admit our need for one another without shame or guilt. And this becomes the beginning of our understanding of how to rejoice with others only when they rejoice, and mourn with others anytime they mourn. Sadly, when we choose to overcome evil with evil rather than good, such as the doctor did in this story, we not only perpetuate that evil, we release our grasp on hope and give ourselves over to that evil. Now, to bring it home, one thing this script and story does superiorly well, and one reason I have such a deep cathartic response to Laurie Strode's story, is that she avoids what most storylines decide to do here. She does not seek revenge. Yes, she seeks wholeness and justice, but rather maintaining hope. She does not take it into her own hands and go after the boogeyman. She understands that his releasing of his grasp of hope, and consequently his lack of understanding of real redemption, will drive him straight into the hands of justice. And this reality will burn the dross off of him. Even if now, 40 years later, that means it burns all of him. And that's my Monday. Now back to yours.